feel free to fill out the pre-class survey, and then I will open up the floor here to anybody with questions about the recipe or anything that came in your E.A.T meal box yesterday or today. All right, no questions. Wow, love it. Well, I'm going to hand it over to Chef Tamika. So excited to be back with everybody for some cooking here tonight. And feel free to chime in with any questions. We'll definitely have some time at the end to share our creations and talk a little bit about maybe some things that you do with your family that are holiday traditions. So Chef Tamika, all yours.
Great. Thank you so much, Alec. I'm so excited to be back with the Elevate team. Again, kudos to Gabe for all the logistics and the back end work that has to go in to get you guys these wonderful boxes. As Alex said, I'm Tamika Francis from the Boston area, originally from Jamaica. I absolutely live to do these classes with you guys. And so we're so excited for tonight's class. It will be on the shorter end for actual cooking, but it'll be a fun one, right? I'm not sure about you, but I like holidays. Doesn't need to be Christmas or Hanukkah, but anything in the holiday spectrum all year round. But there are about 14 holidays this time of year, so everyone has something to celebrate, give or take. So I heard you went to Cranberry Bog. I've been to one before. I was impressed, right? And so for those of us who are in the Boston area, you probably learned that we're on Wampanoag land and the native folks were cultivating cranberries for hundreds of years. So tonight's recipe will be a nod to the Wampanoag people, to the holiday season, to cranberries. And so it'll be a dark chocolate bark. I'm gonna miss out the rest of the words, Alec, because I can't say it all together. But it'll be a delicious recipe. Again, the items that we're sharing tonight, the base is a dark chocolate. You can add different seeds and nuts and fruit and make it your own. But tonight we're doing dark chocolate, we're doing cranberry and pepitas. So as usual, an organized chef will get things going really quickly. So we'll start by prepping our recipe and making sure we have all our ingredients together. Once we have those together and we have our tools and utensils, we'll start our actual work. How does that sound? So ingredient check. So I think you all have in your box a 5-ounce pre-measured dark chocolate. You would have a brick of chocolate or blocks of chocolate. I have in my instance actual chips, which I've had in my fridge, and these are just things I have usually around. I have dark chocolate the same way you do. And I have dark chocolate for a few reasons. One, it's delicious. Two, it's filled with antioxidants. So the cacao bean, the natural chocolate comes this way. It could be sweetened, it could be added with milk and to lighten the flavor, but deep dark chocolate is intense and has lots of benefits for us all. So if you've never tried it, oh, it's pre-measured. Maybe wait until we've already done the recipe to try that depth and that beautiful flavor. I'd say maybe not try it right now because you already have pre-measured chocolate. If you've never had dark chocolate, you're in for a treat tonight. Right?
It is in the form of wafers. It's probably okay if they do one wafer because I gave everybody just, an extra wafer or two.
Okay. Just one. Don't go chomping away at all your chocolate. Thanks, Gay. So I'm gonna pop a piece in my mouth as well. So again, dark chocolate is rich in iron and vitamins and even fiber, right? The cacao plant. If you have time, just Google it. It's this beautiful, large, squash-looking fruit that has gooey, milky inside and seeds. It's dried down, it's roasted, and you have this beautiful thing called chocolate. It's processed, right? And the more processed chocolates, nothing against candy bars, but that's super processed. Dark chocolate is a real deal. So I'm a fan. The next thing I'm eating, right? The next thing you want to have on hand is a bit of salt. Just have your salt nearby. We need a pinch of that. You also need pumpkin spice or cinnamon. I don't think that's already measured for you. You may have it. I have a quick pumpkin spice, which is really just like warm spices like nutmeg and cinnamon, cardamom that's been blended together. Again, cinnamon only is completely okay. And I have my measuring spoon. And I have a teaspoon for this one. So again, a teaspoon is all we need for this one. If you're home and you don't have perfect measuring spoon, a regular teaspoon is okay. A regular teaspoon is completely okay for that. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually measure my spice. That-
Tamika,
Sure.
Tamika, can I interrupt? Just everybody should have gotten a grater in their box and an orange as well for the zesting.
Yeah.
So because I was typing, I just want to make sure I said that in case it wasn't mentioned. You may have already, so forgive me, but
No worries. We're working through it. That's the last bit because I do want to dive in on the zester, but thank you so much.
yep,
So we've
thanks.
done the chocolate, the salt, and the spice. I just measured my teaspoon. Again, if you don't have a actual teaspoon like this, a measuring teaspoon, or regular, your smallest teaspoon at home. I actually want to show you. Oh no, I don't have any tiny teaspoons. A regular teaspoon will be fine for that. So I have my chocolate ready. I have my spices ready. Now the next piece for this recipe is your cranberries. So my cranberries do look a little bit different from yours. I have dried, unsweetened cranberries, right? Just the regular cranberry that you've seen in the bog has been dried down. You have fresh cranberries, which are beautiful this time of year. They'll be super tart, but blend nice with that dark chocolate. So even though I'm using dried, is what I had on hand, your beautiful bright cranberries will be beautiful in the recipe. They'll have a tart taste. They'll also have tons of antioxidants, right? So very delicious, almost a healthy treat for us all, but definitely sweet. So cranberries should be ready to go. I think you have them fresh. I'd say rinse them if you haven't already done so, and then just dry them. So a paper towel or a fresh kitchen towel would be good to dry them on. Thumbs up. Okay, so our next item that we need is our pepitas. Pepitas are a particular kind of pumpkin seeds. And so for this recipe, we wanted to be mindful of those folks who are nut-free. The pepitas are pumpkin seeds. So it's not a tree nut. So those who have allergies are safe. I have almonds because that's what I had on hand. Pepitas, just like nuts, are super, super great in terms of having natural fats are good for us, right? So fiber. So you've had those huge pumpkins, Halloween just passed, the fall just passed. Those pumpkin seeds are dried down and roasted to become pepitas. Now, there are tons of different kinds of pumpkins, and a pepita comes from a particular pumpkin. I'm blanking on the name right now. I'll send that to you by email. But pepitas are definitely high in fiber. They can be roasted and had like a snack, just like the way you have nuts, if you can have nuts. So you should have those ready. Now, the last bit, I'm gonna move these off my. The last item that we should have on hand is our I'm gonna grab one item, is our zester. So if you haven't seen a zester before, a zester is this magical tool. I'm saying magical because it's absolutely called a microplane. It's one of the workhorses of the kitchen. So a zester or a microplane, is this the kind you have?
Yep, that's the kind everybody got.
Are you seeing this interesting thing in your boxes? Okay. You've probably seen a box grater before, right? Really big pieces for cheese. This zester is super tiny or microplane. It gets off the skins, for example, of an orange or a lemon. It's also great for large spices like a nutmeg, a whole nutmeg. And I'm going to just show you guys how we'll zest an orange or zest a lemon rather. I will say you want to be careful and go against the grain. These could really hurt your knuckles. But a zester pretty much takes off the outermost peel of an orange or a lemon. If you've gotten to the white portion, you've gone too far. That offers a bitter taste. And lemons have really high oils, and those oils are beautiful in different kinds of baked goods or anything else you might want. So while folks are grabbing their zester and grabbing their orange peel, I'm gonna grab mine as well.
I know she said orange peel, but you'll just grab your whole fresh orange and give it a rinse, and you'll be able to use your zester that way.
So you do want to hold it firmly. I have a lemon. My lemon's a little bit old. You want to hold that lemon firmly. If you did give it a rinse, I will say dry it because you don't want to introduce water into that zest. The zest really pulls out the fragrant oils. Citrus fruit have fragrant oils. I'm sure if you rub it around a little bit, you'll start smelling that. It's great for cookies. It's great for cakes. It's great for salad dressings. We've made those together before. And so you just want to lightly, and it's really hard to see, but pretty much these tiny little particles that are coming off, little curls, those are the zest of a lemon or an orange. You're looking for about a quarter teaspoon. Again, that's a really tiny amount. If you don't have a teaspoon like mine, which is a quarter teaspoon, I'd say you look at your finger and that first joint, you go probably on a half of that. Always improvise. You don't have a perfect quarter teaspoon. You take your your index finger, and you go to the tippy top, and maybe a half of that will be a quarter teaspoon. So again, this is a wonderful tool to keep in your kitchen for zesting oranges, for doing spices. It gives a really tiny texture that will be beautiful if you're gonna dust, for example, a cake or anything that you're making. All right, so we have all our ingredients, do we? So one more time, our beautiful dark chocolate rich in antioxidants. We have our pinch of salt and our spices. We have our cranberries. I have dried, you have fresh cranberries. We also have our pepitas, and we have our lemon zest, or orange zest rather. All right, Elevate, are we ready to start making our dark chocolate pepita cranberry bark? Okay, so the other items on your ingredients list would include a baking sheet or anything flat, pretty much that's safe for aluminum tray, a tray. I've lined mine with wax paper. Maybe you have wax paper at home. Maybe you have parchment paper. There's some.
Everybody got parchment paper in their bag.
Great. So both things are somewhat similar. The parchment paper is lined. The wax paper is lined with wax rather, and pretty much heat resistant. I wouldn't put them in the oven, but they're heat resistant to a level. So I do want you to line your baking sheet or anything that you have the way I've done so. We also asked you to grab a spatula or a wooden spoon or anything flat. And then a bowl that you can use in the microwave. So if you're home one day and you have some soup or some stew, any bowl with sides that you usually use in the microwave that's safe for the microwave, you're gonna use that. All right, are we all set there? All right, team, I'm not seeing you on the chat, but if I'm not hearing folks come off mute and asking questions, I'm gonna assume we can continue going ahead.
I'm monitoring the chat, so we're in good shape.
Great, thank you so much, Gay. So our first step is to take that dark chocolate. Again, you have bars or wafers. I'm gonna take one more, just one more. I have chips, and it goes into your microwave safe bowl. Now, it's super important that you have an adult in the space help with this, because this will become hot or heated, and melted chocolate, although it's delicious, can be a little bit dangerous. So do ask an adult in the space with you to help with this part. My microwave is behind me, so I'm gonna step away, and I'm gonna say we go in like 15 to 30-second intervals. Now, Elevate. If you've heard nothing else I say, this is super important because chocolate can actually burn. So we're starting with 15 seconds, 30 seconds max. You're gonna monitor this, right? And we're looking for a chocolate to melt down and not go to burn. Do we all hear that? 15, not minutes, not 5 minutes, but 15 seconds. The amount of time it takes for something to fall and pick it up real quick before anyone sees you. All right, so I'm gonna step away because my microwave is behind me. I'm gonna enter 15 seconds. I do know microwaves are different. So you wanna start with your lowest possible time, 30 maximum, maybe interrupt it. I beg you guys, if I've never begged you before, do not go past 30 seconds. Thank you. All right, so I'll be right back.
We just did 30 seconds and it didn't melt the chocolate at all.
And that's good because this is the part where we have to monitor. So I'd say if it didn't melt at all, just take a spoon or spatula and start stirring. It will give you an idea of how much melting actually took place. If none took place, you can go 30 more seconds. If it started to melt, then maybe 15 or 10 more seconds.
Okay,
It's
it melted
really
a
hard to
teeny,
give precise
tiny
directions
bit.
here. Pardon me?
30-second intervals, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It's really hard to give precise directions here because each person's microwave is different. I gave thought to this. So I'd prefer folks go incremental, so bit by bit, and we wait, than for folks to go too far and you have burnt chocolate. Okay? I'm gonna go check on mine. Okay, so mine hasn't moved. Now, while I wait, and for those who are still here, if you do not have a microwave, there is another option. You could heat water in a pan. You can have your bowl, a stainless steel bowl, for example, above that water. And pretty much you're making a heating vessel and you're gonna warm that slowly. But I think most folks may have a microwave available to them. Just so I can demonstrate that for me as well, it's not precision. So my chocolate chips are still pretty whole, but I do have some movement happening, right? Are folks seeing that? I have some movement happening. That for me was just a minute. So I'm gonna estimate, this is where a little bit of math comes in, right? So I'm gonna double my time. I do want to share the concept of residual heat as well. Pretty much, even though it was heated and it's removed from a microwave, there's still residual or leftover heat that's in this container in the chocolate. So that might also, is also the reason I ask you to pull the chocolate and continue mixing, because that residual or leftover heat is still working, right? How are folks feeling? Don't be nervous. We have it all together. My only advice here is to go incremental, step by step. Remove and stir, remove and stir. So my residual heat did really make a difference. And I'm gonna go for another 15 maximum. I think I'm all set. So you are looking for melted chocolate, AKA spreadable chocolate. And so I'm gonna go for another 15 seconds. Are there any questions in the chat? Are folks understanding the incremental and also the idea of the residual heat, leftover heat that's still hanging out? I'm gonna step away. How are folks feeling?
Everybody's looking good, Chef Tamika. I'm seeing some melted chocolate, that's for sure.
Perfect. I'm gonna grab mine.
Excuse me. Sorry. Ours is still not
I'm not
melted.
sure. I thought I had a good microwave.
Okay. Incremental. I'd say.
Yeah. We're mixing and everything. I don't know. Okay, they're stuck on my. Okay, mute. Yeah. Okay.
No worries. We can troubleshoot together. So while you're doing
Okay,
that,
thank you.
I'll show you
Okay,
where I am. Completely melted.
Okay, thank you.
So all my chips are gone. In your case, all your bar, there'll be no solid pieces. Mine is beautifully smooth. I am using a rubber spatula just so I get to move the chocolate around. If you have one, that's perfect. Again, just an example, I have this beautiful, gooey, runny, oh, delicious smelling chocolate. Now we do have to move pretty quickly after it's melted. So I do want to check in with folks to see where you are. Okay. And while folks are still working, chocolate's temperature, it's the winter months, so that also may have an impact. It's a pretty cold day today. So that might have an impact on how cold your chocolate was to start. If you've been in the summertime and had chocolate in your pockets and they melt because it's hot, right? I've had chocolate in my pockets that melt. I don't know why I have chocolate in my pockets, but sometimes I do. But in the winter months, right? So temperature may impact, altitude might impact, your microwave age or like power might impact. So again, it's not exact science. Is there a
Jax,
question?
Jax,
Yeah.
go ahead with your question.
Ready to or something like that.
Say it again, Jax. We didn't quite hear you.
We're ready to pour in the pan, and our chocolate's gonna harden. So we were wondering if you have any tips for pouring it in.
Okay, it sounds like you've gone ahead. If I heard correctly, you're ready to pour into the pan.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just do it together. So if your chocolate has been melted, I'm gonna ask you to then sprinkle in half of your spices. Super important, right? So you had an entire teaspoon. I'd say half of that spice goes into the mixture and your pinch of salt. So I've left some behind. I used a half of that spice mixture. And that gets stirred in.
This is half of the spices. You said half of the spices, right? Or
Half of the spices and that pinch of salt. And you want to mix that in so it really incorporates into your chocolate. And then at this point, if folks are here, we're going to take that mixture, again, working quickly, and spread it out. This is where the bark comes from, right? You want to have pretty even. I mean, because it's homemade, imperfection is beautiful. If it was factory made, it would be all perfect, right? We're not aiming for perfection here. We're aiming for delicious. We're aiming for fun. So I'm going to take my spatula and even this out as much as I can. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect. Just needs to be made with love and needs to be beautiful. All right. Once you have that spread out, again, if you have enough to cover, I did a half of this recipe because I'm less people here. But once that is spread on your parchment or your silicone or any kind of like mat that you're using, this is a fun part, right? This is where your creativity comes in. Now, some folks like to arrange things perfectly. Some folks are more sprinkle people, right? So at this stage, I want you to have your cranberries, the rest of those spices, and your pepitas ready to go. Now, I'm more of a sprinkle person, but if I weren't a sprinkle person, maybe I'm doing perfect rows of cranberries. So one cranberry here, one cranberry there. And I'm gonna mix that in with rows of pepitas, right? It depends on your personality. This is where you get to be creative. If that's not your style and you're more of a, let's just sprinkle it all everywhere and see what happens, you can do that. But this is super fun for families to get in together. So again, here, it could be a sprinkle. It could be carefully arranged. This is where you get to be creative. This is where your love comes into this handmade product. You do want to move somewhat quickly to ensure that the pepitas and the cranberries stick to the chocolate, right? The chocolate became a glue or a palette for this beautiful art that you're doing. Are we on track?
Almost there. We have to put the chocolate on the paper still, but we're almost
Okay.
there.
Perfect.
you.
Are other folks still okay? I'm just gonna browse through and see who's where. Okay, I see folks working.
Got a couple thumbs up to Mika,
Okay.
and a couple folks are, it looks like, spreading some chocolate, and others are sprinkling.
Okay, perfect. You can be a sprinkler or an organizer, or you can do both, or you can do either.
Jax, go ahead. Sorry, Chef.
Yeah.
Jax, go with your question, buddy.
I have a question or more of a share. I had some free time, so what I did is I put some ice in a cup of water and I froze, like I dropped the chocolate into it and I made like little pieces of chocolate, which was cool.
That is super cool. Thank you for sharing
Awesome.
that. Chocolate drops. I saw a question. What are we sprinkling? Is that what I saw as a question?
Yes.
Okay, so at this stage, most families should have their chocolate melted and spread. Once that's done, you're gonna sprinkle your cranberries. Again, you have fresh cranberries, your pepitas, and the rest of those spices. So pretty much all your other ingredients except the zest. That's the only thing we haven't put on yet. At this stage, you have creative license to sprinkle in an ad hoc, whichever way you please, or you can make arrangements your style. So one more time, the pepitas, the cranberries, and those spices get sprinkled on.
Actually,
Mika, did the zest go in the chocolate? But again, forgive me because I'm typing. Sometimes I don't hear what you say at the same
No
time.
worries. I'm going to put the zest on now as the last bit.
Okay, just because I saw a question, so I wanted to make sure I gave the right answer.
Okay, the zest is that last bit that goes. And I'm going to talk us through the elements here, right? Because in any good recipe, there are various elements. The chocolate is sweet, it's dark, it's rich, it's fatty, but the good kind of fatty, right? The cacao has that beautiful fat. Then the cranberries are tart or sour, so that balances both things. Then the nuts are a little bit more starchy, if that makes sense, or plain. And so it really balances the two things of sweet and tart. And the zest has a sour or fragrant oil. So it's more like it pulls it all together. So all this recipe is super simple, but each element does something different for the bark. This is the reason it works well. Another layer to add is that it adds texture. So chocolate was, plain old chocolate bar. We melt it down, made it more smooth. Then we put layers on of pepitas, of cranberries. So when you bite into the chocolate, now it's like, whoa, I'm hearing crunch. I'm feeling tart. I'm having a burst. So super simple recipe, but lots of cooking skills here about balancing flavors and textures. How are folks doing? I can't wait to see Barks. While I'm looking, because mine is pretty much ready, again, one more time, I did my melted chocolate. I put my cranberries on, the pepitas on. I sprinkled that spice. And I finally did the zest on top. The recipe calls for waiting until this gets your room temperature. And pretty much by cooling, you'll feel your pan. If it's still warm, you want to wait a little bit longer. Once it's cooled down, it goes into your freezer. It goes into your freezer just to expedite or speed up that cooling process. The chocolate went from hard to melted, and now you're going quickly back to hard. So wait a little bit longer. Yeah, if you're feeling your pan is still a little bit warm to touch like mine is, I'd say wait another minute or so. Once that's cooled down, it goes into the freezer. I'd say until it freezes, it will freeze pretty quickly. The last time I tried the recipe, in 5 minutes, it was ready. I have chocolate on my finger. I'm just gonna lick it. And then we can break the bark. So I'm gonna wash my hands, but while my hand I'm washing my hands, I do wanna hear where folks are. Any questions we have?
There was,
all the ingredients with the chocolate together.
you don't need to mix them together, the chocolate's spread out and then all the nuts, well, the pepitas, the cranberries, the second half of the spice and the zest are just sprinkled across the top and they will set as the chocolate cools.
So should I wait a little longer?
I say move quickly. That's a great question. You want to move quickly once the chocolate is melted, because imagine glue. You don't want your glue to be dry before you add your items on top. So once the chocolate is out and it's spreadable, I say go ahead and add those items.
So I
Cranberry-
know, it's gonna be, so if it's spreadable, then it's ready to like spread out.
Yes.
The chocolate,
Yeah.
yes. If you were
Right.
able, if your chocolate is nicely melted, then your next step is to spread that on your cookie sheet that has the parchment paper on it. And get that all just kind of, relatively smooth layer that's probably, I don't know, about a 1/4 inch thick, right, Tamika?
Yeah, 1/4 inch thick.
Uh,
Yeah.
Okay. And
I
once
do
you
wanna-
have it like that, that's when you put the toppings on.
Right. I'm going to stick mine in the freezer because it's ready to go. But I do want to add one more tip around knowing when your chocolate is ready. Again, each microwave is different. But when chocolate is not, ooh, mine's not nearby. I'll grab some. When chocolate's hard or solid, it's a little dull, right? It's somewhat dull. When it's melted, you see how shiny that is? It's a little bit smoother. I can wipe it. So the texture changes. The consistency changes. And that's primarily because of fat or those beautiful oils. They're melted from a solid state into a liquid state. For those who are in science class, you probably have discussed things changing from one state to the next. Remember, cooking is a science. So mine
Should
goes.
we? Sorry. Should we put on the spice again? Like when
Absolutely.
we're sprinkling, like the
Absolutely.
cranberries? Oh, put the rest,
Yes.
the rest of it?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, thank you so
The
much.
other half a teaspoon.
Okay, cool, thank you.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to step away.
I just
and
wanted to
put-
be sure there's a lot in that bag. I didn't want you to use the whole bag, just a
Oh,
little,
no, I know.
just a little half a teaspoon.
Thank you. Yeah, there's plenty left. Thank you.
Yeah, there is. I'm gonna stick my chocolate in the freezer. So I'm gonna step away for a second to stick it in the freezer.
Does anybody else want to share
But it,
their design of their sprinkle, or were you placing your pepitas and your cranberries? Anybody want to show everybody your design on your screen?
We can share.
hold
Yeah,
on.
please.
Do we put the sprinkler in
that.
the freezer?
Your finished product. So I'm seeing somebody's screen right now. The thing you've made that includes the melted chocolate, the pepitas, the cranberries, the spices. Once it cool down, as in it's not hot anymore, it goes into your freezer. Does that answer your question? My design is cute. Does that
Look
answer
at-
the question that was asked? I wanna
Oh,
make sure.
wow. Look at some
Fun.
of these. I'll add some spotlights here.
Oh my gosh. That's
Thanks for
beautiful.
showing us, everybody. It's so beautiful.
Can I show something?
I hope you guys will send pictures to Cam and Alex so we can have some pictures to remember this by.
Beautiful.
Hey, can I show something?
Gorgeous.
Let's see, Brendan. Yeah.
It's
Cool.
work. It's a work of art.
We have some circles. Great zesting.
Yum.
Also very festive colors, right? The red and the green and the gold. Beautiful colors. Thank you guys for sharing. I did want to mention there was one other ingredient component that was very, very tiny. That's salt that I didn't mention. Salt does balance sweet. So even though we had that beautiful, strong, dark chocolate, when it's been melted down, a pinch of salt balances the flavors. It's pretty much like allows them to talk to each other. So a pinch of salt is super important. If you're ever making, you know, a morning beverage like a latte or any of these fancy things, or even some breakfast cereal, like say oatmeal and sweet but doesn't have a distinct like there's something missing, try a pinch of salt, not a teaspoon, not anything but your tiny little fingers and a pinch. That really balance that sweetness. Right.
I have a
still-
quick question about the cranberries. So I got the lovely cranberry bogs from the outing, but I didn't know what to do with them to keep them fresh, but there was nice cranberry juice in them because I squeezed some of them. Are these different? Because there's no juice coming out of these whatsoever.
I'm not sure I understand your question. Just
Where am I? So these are like really like dry inside, these cranberries. The ones from the book, is that like, are there different types of cranberries?
I have a feeling they're the same type of cranberries. It may just be,
They're really hard and like, there's just like no cranberry juice in them whatsoever. They're like an off-white inside.
I can answer that. The cranberry
good.
we went to when we were at the bog with our different school groups had been sitting in the water for a while. We're actually past season. Cranberry season ends around early November. So those were the leftovers that were a little more waterlogged, sitting in rain and sitting in the water of the bog itself. So that's why the ones we collected are a little more watery than the ones we have that are pre-collected by the grocery stores.
Thank you. No, they had actually cranberry juice coming out of them and these ones are dry. I'm just wondering if that's normal.
it's more common to find them dry, quite honestly. Like if you were to
Oh.
go to a grocery store and buy cranberries, they're going to be just like you're describing tonight.
Like
They're
it looks
gonna
like a
have
little
that white
tiny,
center and they're going to be
Yeah.
very crisp.
like a little tiny apple almost looks like
Yeah,
inside.
yeah, very
Okay.
crisp. Yep.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
Oh, no, it's a great question. Never say sorry for asking questions.
Those
There's
other
no bad
cranberries,
question.
I'm bummed about the other cranberries because they were like so juicy, but I didn't know how to preserve them. I cleaned them all off and got rid of the bad ones, but now they have no taste to them, so I think it's too late.
You know what? You can add that juice to some of your leftover cranberries and
Oh, cool.
That-
They've been
cook it on
in
the
the
stove.
fridge.
Yep, and you can make a little cranberry sauce. I think you
So-
even did that
oh,
at the
cool.
bog maybe the other day.
They've been in the fridge the whole time, so that's okay. Like they've been in the fridge for a couple days in the
That's
bag.
fine. Yep.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
You
Sorry.
We've got 2 more
Thank-
questions. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So my question is the extra produce that we have. We can use that like for salads or just
There's
whatever.
a number of recipes that are also in that box if you read through there that use a number of those ingredients. So that's why we always include extra ingredients in the box so that you can try other recipes throughout, the next few days after class if you'd like to. So there's extra cranberries, there's some other produce in there. And if you flip through the recipes, you'll see that we give you ideas on how to use those other dishes you can prepare using those. You'll have to have a few other items in your house or maybe run to the grocery store and buy a couple items, but we try to give you things that will make, just make it a little easier and give you the opportunity to use some fresh produce and some new spices like the pumpkin pie spice that's in there, that kind of thing.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you
It
so
looks
much.
Done.
Yeah,
Ooh,
thanks
yeah.
Sophie and Gay for answering those questions there. I'm gonna pull mine from the freezer a little bit prematurely, but I do want to show us or demonstrate cutting that. I will say the one thing I did do while we're talking is to clean my workspace. I'm a stickler for that. We have a great time. We make these amazing recipes, but you do want to make sure you clean up your workspace, put things away. Maybe if you're a 2-person team or a family, one person is washing, another person is sorting. So I did clean my workspace. I have a clean area to get my fresh product that's finished on a clean work surface. The last thing you want to do is have a messy work surface and then introduce that brand new item that you just made, and then we make an error. So my area is clean. I'm going to step away. I'm going to grab my cranberry bar.
And Jax, I see your hand. Give me 1 sec. While Chef Tamika is doing that, feel free to fill out that post-class survey in the chat. That's super helpful for us to help us improve our classes here. And I want to remind everyone that our next class, we're not done yet, so we got 10 more minutes. But our next class is going to be February 1st. And then we will have several more after that. But just wanted to put that out there. And of course, you will be hearing from us on details on that. Jax, what's your question, buddy?
My mom wanted to know if there are any tips for cleaning off all the hardened chocolate on anything or everything.
I'm gonna be honest with you. My first tip is to eat as much as you can. That's the tip. Then the real tip now is
my
to soak.
bowls and everything. I was like trying to reheat it or try to add hot water. It's like, you know, coating everything.
Yeah, so if that chocolate has solidified or it's cold, I'd say warm water and soap will break up that fat. But I just say try and lick as much as you can. I mean, it's really good quality chocolate you receive. So lick as much as you can off of those utensils. And then once that's done, warm soapy water will break that fat and that solid chocolate down. It might take a little bit of soaking time. Doesn't need to be overnight. And I'd say some good elbow grease, as in mechanical, like friction, like rubbing that away.
We got the
How long?
water doing work. Right
Oh
now.
yeah, it's like completely. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so I pulled my bark from the freezer.
How long should we put in the freezer? I'm so sorry. Ours is not even in the fridge or freezer yet. Ooh,
No worries.
but we're done.
Okay, sounds good. So I pulled mine.
There it is.
Show you a few things. So I pulled mine from the freezer. First of all, if I should be able to fit this over and not much falls off. So my items, my bark, it worked, right? You may have a few things if maybe they're sprinkled like in like lots of layers, but mine have solidified and nothing came off. The next piece is that the color, it went from that shiny, glossy look to back to being a little bit more cloudy because it's gone back to being a solid state. And then you should be able to peel away that bark from your paper. And then you could toss, reuse, recycle your wax paper. Mine had a little interesting tail. Okay. And I will tell you that if folks do want to give theirs a little bit longer time, I did pull mine early because I do want to demonstrate this. It does, we want to engage our senses. So we saw it, it's hard. We felt it. I'd say knock it, right? You can feel it, it's hard. Again, if you do want to wait a little bit longer to be sure, go ahead and do that. Now, this is a part where, again, up to you. You can break it into pieces or have an adult help you with a pretty large, heavy knife. And then you can cut your bark. I sing when I'm trying to make sure I don't mess something. And there's no mess up, just to say, there's no mess up, right? I'm just saying that. You can cut your bark. So I'm gonna cut mine. I have 3 sisters and I have 4 or 5 nieces and nephews. So I probably need 3 and 5. Somebody help me. What's that number? Feels like 8. I need about 8 pieces. So I'm gonna go ahead because I want to give each of my family member a piece of this bark for the holiday. So I'm gonna make mine into 8 pieces. I think I have 9 because there's 1 for me. And look at that. I have some will become a square, beautiful square bark. Others are a little bit more irregular, which is fine, right? Perfection is not what we're aiming for. But each piece was made by me for my family. Now, when I am cutting these, I do lose a few pepitas or cranberries, but for the most part, each family member of mine who I gift this to will have cranberry, will have pepitas or nuts rather, and a sprinkling. And this will be a beautiful gift for them. Now, in terms of any questions there? There's no technique per se. I would say you want to put pressure on that knife and go slowly. Again, incremental, maybe not chop, but just go slowly. If you're not into cutting things, it's completely okay to break it. It doesn't need to be perfect. So that could be a nice little trio gift for someone. Now, these store pretty easily in a Ziploc bag, or if you have like brown paper, it won't last very long. So you do want to gift these pretty quickly. Or I am a big fan of mason jars. I have a bunch of these. Every time I buy something that they come in, so I could just arrange a few into a jar. Ooh. And then maybe I have a little bow on top. I don't know, make it cute. And that becomes a gift. So it's airtight and they can reuse this jar for lots of different things afterwards. You can probably put their name on top. You can do a few things. Any questions on how to cut?
Yes, how long in the freezer? I don't know. I don't hear anybody answer. I'm sorry.
No worries. Don't be sorry. So I just did 5 minutes because I wanted to demonstrate this to you. I'll be honest, it could go for twice the time because it's hardened, but it's not hard enough. So I'd say 10 minutes maximum.
Thank you so
Otherwise,
much.
you'll introduce, yeah. I'm gonna eat a
Cool.
piece. I can't resist. Any
We're
questions?
loving the pepitas. Is that how you say it? Pepitas?
Pepitas, absolutely. Any questions from anyone? Okay, so I said I'm gonna give these to my family members for the holidays. I celebrate Christmas. I know there are a bunch. Actually, did some research. There are around 14 different holidays in the month of December across different religions and cultures. So we have a few more minutes together. I'd like to invite folks to share any holiday food traditions that you might have that you want to share. And if you're not a holiday person or you're not celebrating a holiday, any family traditions around this time of year that you might have and want to share with us. May I open the floor, Alec, for folks to share?
Please.
I am going to eat my bark, though.
How about the Reyes family, to put you on the spot?
Yeah, you got it. I was just typing away, but I figured I can be more vocal. So in Puerto Rico, we have several foods that are popular around the Christmas time. One of them being pastelas. I can't really describe what it is. It's just a whole lot of goodness behind it. And then as a beverage, there's coquito. So it's like, I've heard the term Puerto Rican eggnog thrown around. It could be drank with or without alcohol in it, but depending on your age, either or is just as delicious. But those are two big things in Puerto Rico. And it's typically, I mean, we could obviously do them year round, but we typically do them just around the Christmas season. So between after Thanksgiving till January 6th to be King's Day, that's pretty much open season. Because it just doesn't taste as delicious when you eat it in July. There's something else.
Yeah, it's so true, right? Those things that are special just taste that much better that you had to wait for.
You had to, yes, exactly.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Elevated, like Thanksgiving comes around the corner and it's like, all right, hurry up Thanksgiving so we can eat. It's almost like there's a fence that we could just climb over or a door that we can unlock, but it has to be after Thanksgiving.
That is funny.
Those
Thank
are the
you.
two big ones for us.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. What about, I saw the Jackson, the Silva family, they wanted to share something.
I just wanted to say we have more cranberries because we're just addicted to cranberries in this household. So after we just ate more cranberries and other cranberries, and I have a bowl of cranberries sitting over there. I'm also eating these cranberries.
That's
Wow.
why don't you answer? Oh, I was like, do you want to answer your question about? We're answering things that are special for the holidays.
Oh yeah. Also, holidays. We love eggnog.
Mm.
We keep it honest.
Thank you. I hear two very similar drinks. So milk based or dairy, no, somewhat milk based, could be nut milk too, with spices for the season. So somewhat similar. I'd be curious to know what the origin are of both drinks. So thank you for sharing coquito and eggnog. Anyone else?
I'd love to hear the O'Driscoll family, Brendan and company. Do any good holiday traditions?
We all like holiday on for Christmas. We always just wait for we just film us opening presents. I think it always happens a bunch. Someone just film.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and we just wait for everyone. And then you open.
Good. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to hand back over to Alec, but before I hand over, I did package my items into mason jars. Again, the reason I use these, they're airtight, and so they'll last some time. I did also do some in a little Ziploc bag. I'll put a little label on here, but again, it could be a Ziploc bag, airtight container. It could be a paper bag with a bowl, any version of whatever is presentable for you and your family, I think, or your friends. It's a great way. And maybe just tell folks what's in it with a label and explain how much you labor to make this from your own talent and your own skills. So again, guys, it's always a pleasure to be with a team. Unless there are any other questions on the actual recipe, I do want to pass it back to Alec.
Can I just say something real quick, Alec? I'm sorry.
Please.
So I just want to say thank you, first of all, and not to everybody, Tamika and Gay and Alec and everybody else for everything, always. I want to say this was nice and easy. I appreciate that it was easy, and we actually finished it pretty much same time as everybody else. So I like this one. It was easy because as you guys probably know, I get a little overwhelmed when I'm moving so fast.
Excellent. Great feedback.
But thank you. It was nice and easy. I liked it. Thank you so much. And happy holidays to everybody if I don't see you guys.
You as well. I hope it
Thank
tastes
you.
good also.
Oh, yeah. I have to check it. It's been in there for a little bit. Thank you so much, Kay.
Excellent. Well, I think in life, sometimes the best things are simple, right? But you can get creative, just like Tamika showed us. So with that being said, just one more reminder, we'll send an email out too, but if you get a chance, fill out that post-class survey and the link there. We'll leave it open here for another minute. I want to thank everybody. I know we've taken a bit of a hiatus from our E classes, but we're excited to kind of dive back into them here during the winter months, and then explore more in the outdoor realm during the warmer months. But I love that most of our kids were able to explore a real cranberry bog and then use cranberries here in this recipe. I think that is really at the core of this initiative that we do here at Elevate Youth, is learning where food comes from, right? Food doesn't just come from the shelf at a grocery market. It comes from the land, and it comes from natural places. So I want to thank everybody. I want to give a shout out to, I think, Jordy with the family of matching Christmas PJs. That's an incredible tradition. Feel free to please send us pictures of your bark. And if you do, make it for a gift for anybody during the holiday season here. Please feel free to reach out with any questions. And thank you all. I hope everybody has a great rest of 2022. 2023 is going to be an amazing year. I can't wait to see everybody.
And try some of those other recipes in your vacation time.
No class in January. I'm sorry. No class in January.
Nope, we'll be doing February 1st. So right at the beginning of February.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, everyone.